Hello everyone, this is CounterYolo, bringing you another video talking about Star Trek Online. And as was clarified by a couple of you via email last week, my channel's been up for over a year now, even though I haven't posted videos during that entire year. It's been technically been up for a year, and so I thought it would just be good just to do a quick video talking about my thoughts on STO in a simple Q&A format with just a couple of questions, going over a couple of my basic things inside the game. So yeah, in no particular order, I'll go over a couple of frequently asked questions, as well as some clarifications on the weekend store removal, and about where you can find more information about the account is the player thing that I've talked about a lot, and a couple of people talked about a lot, which is from the STLV 2018 video stuff. So anyway, feel free to see the time links to the various questions in this video if you're really curious about all of that and want to skip through the most of the questions in this video. So the first one, and it's what's most important to say, is first off, am I the best tank in STO? And the answer is obviously no. Florian over on STO builds is, in my opinion, the best tank inside the game. Not only because his numbers are really good, there's positive steps around him, but also because his build is extremely easy to execute. Honestly, most of you all, if you had the type of build that Florian has over on STO builds, you probably could tank extremely well as well. So that is why when a lot of people keep on asking, what's the best tank in skill tree? What's the best tank build in general? Over 75% of the time, I refer you to his builds there. Just because his builds are so foolproof, essentially, that you probably should be referring to him. Also, as I explained on Facebook a few weeks ago, I'm not one of those people that's a min-max type of player. There's 4 general types of players in gaming, as I explained in that video. I'm a combo between a socializer and an explorer. With the loss of the Foundry, I'm definitely much more of a socializer now, because, I mean, I can no longer just go to a random planet and play a Foundry mission, because the Foundry doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, feel free to go to Facebook if you want to see my video on Barrel's taxonomy and its relation to STO, and Florian's complaints about STO back then as well. It is a pretty good video. I put it there instead of here on YouTube because I wanted you to have some reason to at least go to my Facebook page. Alongside being able to access my PDFs of all these slideshows. Okay, so for the second question, because I'm not the best tank player, why should any of you watch my channel? Well, it's simple, because it's not just builds we talk about here. Some basic things for new players, which I think is the biggest reason why this channel even exists, honestly, at this point. I talk about some STO trends that go on from time to time, and eventually, I'll talk about the STO lore as well. Now, if I end up quitting STO, which is a possibility at this point, I'll probably focus much more on the STO lore and explain a lot of that inside the game. And just logging in whenever they really release new stories and things, or update previous stories, and then talk about how the STO lore has changed from time to time. Right now, I have other things I've also been trying to focus on too, and it's been hard to balance both those things at the same time, alongside real life things that are going on for me personally. So, I mean, TLDR, if you're watching YouTube videos to get the best DPS build in the game, that probably isn't the best location out there. You probably should go to STO builds over on Reddit and just start perusing the builds there. Florian's build obviously is insanely good for tanking, but there's other tanking builds that are also good in there as well. You can also look at the inspiration of a lot of the DPS builds as well. Just keep in mind, the moment that you start getting into ridiculously high DPS numbers, a lot of times it's because, one, a lot of them are in pre-made groups, and second, if they're using ISA, well, ISA is so... ISA is basically a joke at this point when it comes to DPS builds. Yeah, they can kind of work, but you don't need survivability at all in ISA. So you can get away with completely 100% DPS builds in ISA runs. And however, in HSC, you do need survivability in your builds as well. Also, of course, in both those runs, you're fighting the Borg, which don't really move very quickly. And so if you're wanting a more well-rounded build that can handle anything in advanced, or especially in any elite TFO, a lot of those builds would have to be adjusted depending on what animate that you're fighting. There's also Wedge or Gauntlet is also pretty annoying to fight because you actually can't do straight DPS to win that map. Anyway, if you want to focus on stuff other than, min-max DPS, the regular STO Reddit is actually a decent place to go. This channel is also okay as well. It just depends upon what you really like and if you want to watch videos versus, reading a lot of text on a screen, which is probably not going to be helping this channel by having this video. Question 3, with the loss of the Foundry, that's one of the things I was mad about a few months ago. What can you fill the void of in STO? And short answer is you can't. I'm sorry, but from what I can tell, there isn't a good way to fill that void. Earlier today, I decided to do a post on the weekly dumb question thread, saying like, hey, next week's going to be the 2-month anniversary of the loss of the Foundry. What stuff have y'all found to replace it in the game? And there haven't been a lot of responses on it yet. Hopefully there are in the future. For any of you that have any great ideas, feel free to comment there as well as here on this video in terms of what you think is decent for a replacement for the Foundry. In my opinion, the best option that you have is just to read Star Trek books instead, or to play a Star Trek D&D game. Like, the fun Shield of Tomorrow TV show was actually really fun to watch. Their episodes are over on YouTube if you all are interested as well. You're watching it here, so you can just search for it and see a lot of the episodes. So, anyway. Now, as for me personally, I spelled that wrong, but anyway, my 2 favorite places is Star Trek Phoenix X. He doesn't really put up stuff as frequently anymore. He does more STO inspired stories versus STO comics. But I mean, his comics actually have in-game screenshots that he uses for some of his stories and some of his jokes. Kind of cool, whatever. Attack Pattern Tugs is much more fleshed out and is much, well, how can I carefully say this? It's just my preference right now. In my opinion, it is one of the best Star Trek comics out there. Now, he puts out really slowly, of like a page a week. He has taken a bit of a break as he did just finish an insane like 38-page comic or so, something like that, over the past couple of months. And so, but the comic was still really good. One of the officers is based off of the original STO tutorial for the Federation captains. And for his timings in his comics, he's using the old STO lore timings in the game, which is based on the STO internal clock of that, a day in the real world is a day in STO, which Triptych has started to veer away from because they realized that they weren't going to be putting out a lot of stories every single year. And so they didn't want to say, oh yeah, during this year, we only put during this entire year in the Star Trek Online world, we only had 6 missions, including, 2 missions dealing with the Discovery Mirror universe and 4 missions of historical reenactments. They don't really want to tell you that, but based on the precedent of what STO was prior to the Stolen Dyson Sphere and Delta Rising, that was what the implication was inside the game. That was also the unspoken thing between the players and the development team. So yeah, as for the next question, I've received a lot of questions asking for clarification on the weekend store. As from what I talked about in my last video, we'll have a few questions and things about this. So first off, just try to clarify, the feature TFO system is replacing every single old 3-day and 14-day event queues in STO, including the Crystalline Cataclysm, Into the Breach, the Mirror Invasion, as well as the 3-day events of First Contact Day, Kobayashi Maru, and Arena of Sumpek. I don't know why they call it Sumpek Arena, it's really Arena of Sumpek, but whatever. Basically, they're replacing all those and just getting rid of all the old currencies, and they're just making it so that you use feature TFO tokens to fill in the 14-day event queues in STO. And with all those that are removed, if you happen to miss out on the item from one of those events, you can always go to the Phoenix Lockbox system within a few months, I would imagine, and get character unlock versions instead of account unlock versions through that system instead of through the earning system. Now, when it comes down to what happens to the weekend store, because the weekend store was special, because unlike the other events with Kobayashi and Arena of Sompek, if you missed the event, well, you could always just, earn more tokens during the next weekend event, and then reclaim whatever item that you really want from the current or any previous weekend events, and have it be account unlocked for your entire account. With this change, that weekend store is going away. Not the weekend store items, just the weekend store system. So basically, it means that if you missed an event, you no longer can just play the next event and earn that item again. They want to remove that non-FOMO element and make it so that every single thing is a limited time event. And so all those rewards are limited time as well. That is why I was really mad last week, because there aren't any non-FOMO events inside the game now. If you want something account unlocked, you have to do a fear of missing out type of event inside the game, whether that's one of the three main events, the anniversary event and summer and winter event to get a starship, or one of the featured TFOs now to get something that would be account unlocked too, or you go to the C store. Those are really your only options. And in my opinion, they're using the guise of streamlining this entire system over here, so they can get rid of the weekend store. And I talked about the similarities to the Rising event during last video. Feel free to see that if you somehow haven't seen that yet. As a follow-up, within a few hours of that video, Kael put a message on the STO Reddit saying that the weekend store and removing it isn't finalized. And I've gotten a few questions about my thoughts on that. As you can read over there, I'm still 95% sure that it's going to be removed. The only way that it wouldn't be removed is if Cryptic decides to change their mind and not go with their current plan of removing the weekend store. Or if they're going to be adding a new system that was like the weekend store of a new non-FOMO type system to replace what the weekend store system used to be. And why am I so sure on this? Well, unfortunately last month, what I didn't catch was in the patch notes for the 1st of May, they were adding a few things to Phoenix Lockbox. And one of those things was an item from the weekend store, the Sompek Pulse Wave Assault. I feel really dumb for not catching this back then. Otherwise, I might have been able to complain more and this might not have actually happened. But unfortunately, this happened. Not enough people really complained about this or noticed this enough to actually make the connection that weekend store might be gone now. And so, yeah, everything, not just, the other things that were like featured TFOs, but including everything from the weekend store, is going to be added to the Phoenix Lockbox. And so the weekend store itself is going away. It'd be cool if they did the stuff from Reddit that a lot of people are suggesting, but whatever. So, just as a TLDR for all this, the weekend store items are not being removed from the game. If you earned the items while the weekend store was in existence, that account unlock stuff is still going to be available for free for all of your other characters through the Reclaim tab. Just like it's the same tab that you use to claim all of your starships from your other events. It's that same general tab. It's just that if you didn't earn it through the weekend store already, it's unfortunately you're going to have to use the non-FOMO original way to earn those items. So you're stuck getting through Phoenix Lockbox if you didn't earn it through the weekend store already. However, the next event that would have been like the weekend event goes on, you won't be able to earn more tokens and account unlock one of the older weekend store items. The weekend store itself is going away. The weekend store items are not. Just the store system that those items are based upon is going away. Same with all those tokens in just a couple of days. Well, technically the items might not be going away for the weekend store, those exact tokens, because of PR, but they were. I'm 95% sure that those tokens will eventually go away too. Just saying. Okay, so with that all said, one of the other questions I saw a few times on the STO Reddit during the past couple weeks is, some people were asking, because a lot of people like me are mad that the account is the player concept has basically been betrayed, which is a problem. So where did that originally come from? Well, as I explained in my Age of Discovery What to Expect video, which is the video that kind of put my channel in relevance, honestly, in the SEO community, it was from Star Trek Las Vegas 2018. So basically, in that video, Age of Discovery What to Expect, I surmised four different sources of information inside the game. The 10-forward weekly video that was published on July 27th, as well as the 3 Priority 1 podcast covering Star Trek Las Vegas 2018 when it comes to Star Trek Online. That video covers those 4 things. Unfortunately, because I don't have the written notes for that anymore, those notes, I just can't find them anymore because they were physical notes, they weren't electronic. I can't tell you the exact recording and the exact time and the exact person that said it, but it was said in one of these 4 things. For those of you that would like to review those and tell everyone else in the comments exactly what recording or video and what time and what person it was, that would probably help a lot of the community so that we know who to actually blame for saying I count as the player, see if they were actually a credible source. They should have said that, or if that was in a conceptual phase, and then they just decided, we're not going to do that anymore. We don't really care about the account for the player. We want it to be that the captain is the player instead. I believe it was in that same video that they were hinting that the Victory's Life Tier 6 Mastery System was them wanting to move that to more starships besides the Gemini Vanguard ships, but I could be mistaken as well on that. This is also the reason why, because of this problem, why I have my Google Drive that I upload my scripts whenever I have them, as well as PDFs of the PowerPoints, in case something else happens, like my computer or something, and things get like corrupted, whatever. At least there's the Google Drive that I and everyone else who watches these videos can also access. If you want a link to the Google Drive, just go to my Facebook page again, the other big thing that's there in case you want to go to it, and you'll be able to just click on the links to the Google Drive and have access to all of the PDFs and the scripts for these videos, at least the scripts that I write. So for the next question, what are the best tanking traits and the tanking skill tree? Well, the answer to that is that it's much more flexible and less, fleshed out for tanking. It really comes down to how much DPS do you want to do versus how much durability do you want in your starship. You need more durability if you have less people that can do really high damage in your group. If you're with 4 people that do an insane amount of DPS, you're not going to need a lot of durability, and you can go much more into damage as well, which is a light amount of durability. In terms of starship traits, I'm just listening to hear the C-Store ones, because I'm a big fan of C-Store traits, because you buy them once and you don't have to buy them again for any of your other characters. History Remember is basically like the A++ tanking trait inside the game right now. Everything on this helps you to tank. Emergency Weapon Cycle is basically a must-have if you're a energy-based tank inside the game. Well, I guess not must-have, but it's extremely nice to have it. Alongside these, having some sort of spreader ability is also really nice as well. Redirection arrays for beam tanks, within barrage for cannon tanks, and improved gravity well for science tanks. For space traits, for tactical, use a good day to die. It's basically a must-have. And engineering have for free Grace Under Fire and EPS manifold efficiency. This one's basically a poor man's version of override subsystem safeties. And Grace Under Fire makes max repairs have an actual reasonable cooldown, so that it's almost like a clicky console when it comes to cooldowns. I wish that this was just a reasonable cooldown by itself, but whatever. For science, we only have 1 for space, and the ground one's also extremely strong too. But conservation of energy basically makes EPG or exotic-based DPS tanking, extremely viable for science. Medical Vanguard gives you insane ground survivability. If you're spamming heals on yourself alongside the AoE damage that you're already going to be doing. When it comes to some more space traits, by the way, Medical Vanguard is for ground, by the way. But for space traits, Fleet Coordinator, every captain gets for free. You probably should be slotting this anyway. Point Blank Shot, if you're especially doing an energy-based tanking, Point Blank Shot is extremely nice. You earn this from a mission. Biotech Patch is, I would argue, is borderline necessary for just about any tank build. It's also the trait that I almost always see on tank builds on the STO build site in general. Repair Cruise is really nice. However, if you happen to have the Honor Dead Starship trait, it's not really that necessary. KDF can really use it though because their version of Honor Dead is extremely expensive. Federation's is really cheap in comparison. Blade Shield is also nice. Outside of these traits here for space, what basically most people are going to tell you for PvE tanking is to just stack a bunch of the DPS traits inside the game. So feel free to go to STO builds and look at their traits list. Basically pick the A and B traits for DPS that happen to enhance your build personally. More damage equals more threat. Just see that list. It changes from time to time. The last I checked, they haven't updated for any of the discovery traits in the game, so just look up a lot of those traits individually on STO to see how people think about them, see if as to whether those are better for whatever build you're going over instead of some of the other ones in the general space traits tier list. And for the last question for this video, how much longer does STO have? Well, to answer that question, I believe that this game will definitely last to the 10th anniversary next year. It's just next year. It's not that much farther. I definitely believe it's going to last until then. However, because Cryptic is heavily focusing on their new MMO for Magic the Gathering, I don't really feel like Cryptic is going to be investing that much more into STO. Anything new that's new and revolutionary for the game is probably going to be from a system that they've implemented or are going to implement into that MMO itself. For the revolutionary stuff to STO, I would imagine whatever they're saying this is revolutionary is probably coming from that MMO. I could be wrong, but considering how much our EP has currently been cutting back significantly in STO, that is what I'm seeing. I definitely see it as they're cutting back as much as they can, so that they can basically in 2-3 years basically have the game in maintenance mode, or maybe not maintenance mode, but as close to maintenance mode as they possibly can do without actually saying that it's actually maintenance mode. A lot of the streamlining of currencies and things, I think, is to make it so that they don't have to train people as much in terms of how a lot of the mechanics in STO work. I mean, like, and if those that pay attention to one of the recent Twitter weeklies talking about like the Star Trek Discovery sets and things, like the ground one specifically, the guy who did the redesign and added the stuff for melee ground stuff, for instance, didn't know about the stuff with Agents of Yesterday in messing up a lot of the mechanics for ground melee in the first place, and why melee basically went out of practice was because of Agents of Yesterday. He didn't know that. He was just trying to make melee work in the current system instead of trying to fix the system back to what it was previously, which would have been much better for the player base. But whatever. For the downward trend in general, how Cryptic could fix this? Easiest answer is to make it STO fully canon. That would fix a lot of things and make Cryptic have to be solid in how they want their timeline to be. The timeline originally was all about the Undine. The reason why the Klingons are even fighting the Federation is because they are fairly certain that a lot of the Federation leadership is infiltrated by the Undine, which we find out later they aren't wrong. A lot of the Federation leadership is infiltrated by the Undine. Yay for that, right? Well, it's also the reason why they invaded the Gorn homeworld. and why the Gorn have such a nice redemption arc in the Klingon storyline. But when I cover the STO lore videos, I'll talk more about that as well, and why Stas is such an awesome character in STO. Probably one of the strongest ones in the game at all. One of the things that also could stop the downward trend is to say, guess what, players? We aren't abandoning this game. In fact, we're so invested, we're going to make we're going to use an entirely different engine and make a Star Trek Online 2.0. We're going to have a 2.0. We're going to use a more generalistic gaming engine that a lot of other game companies are using, so that it's very easy to train new programmers and such for the game. We'll add the Foundry system back in that new engine, so that it's much easier for everyone, and we'll make sure that we transfer all player accounts and items over to 2.0, so that none of your investment is lost either. That would definitely invigorate a lot of the player base. At least have a lot of players actually look at it like, okay, Cryptic's actually doing heavily investment in this game. Let's see what they did. Third, things that could help, especially for the DPS community, is to add the holodeck simulations that they've been talking about, and have stuff for every single type of enemy in space and ground, and be like, okay, test out your builds against these enemies. Maybe one against dummies and one against all different enemies at the various difficulties, so you can see how good your build actually is. Especially with the loss of the Foundry, Cryptic really should be doing this so that there actually is a scene for this. Also including, actual in-game DPS parsers, and actually having it be visual inside the game would actually be honestly pretty important to really add to the game. For those of you that don't know, like, that's how they keep track of the stuff for Crystalline Catastrophe in terms of like their rankings of like first to third. At least in some form, it already exists inside the game, so why not just make that visible to players too? But that's just my little rant there. Also, to help with not having a downward trend, clarify and clean up and do whatever to make the STO story more comprehensible. Just because right now, especially to the adversary who's just joined the game right now, because I've been playing a couple of new characters recently just to try to experience the beginning of the game, and they've taken out so many missions that I'm like, okay, if I didn't have this mission and this mission and this mission and this mission and never played the Romulan arc, would I actually know what's going on right now whenever I get to the Solar Dyson Sphere? Would I actually know what's going on whenever the Iconium War starts? Not really. And like, they've missed so much. They've legitimately taken the Undine basically out of the story entirely. Like, they're more like a footnote in the story now, instead of much more prominent like they were 5 years ago. And it is really sad. It is really sad. Oh well. I guess we'll see what they do in the future. Anyway, for those that didn't see the announcement, the next featured TFO is the Crystalline Cataclysm. It's the event version of Crystalline Catastrophe, which basically isn't much different than what the current Crystalline Catastrophe is right now. Crystalline Catastrophe already queues up insanely quickly already, because it is one of the best TFOs for finishing really quickly in the game. So if you want to earn that mine launcher, feel free. If you're someone who just wants the earn stuff for that tier 6 C-Store Cheapon, it's not a bad TFO, unless they significantly adjust the health or something, or at the damage on feedback pulse, whatever. It's not a bad TFO. You can kick it out extremely easily. You can also play it for a lot of extra dilithium on it as well. It is a really fast TFO. But anyway, thank you all for watching. This week as well, towards the end of the week, unless Cryptic does something else really stupid and forces me to do a different video, I will be bringing out my video talking about lockboxes. And I'll be talking about every single lockbox, not just, regular lockboxes and R&D lockboxes. I will be talking about Phoenix lockboxes in their monetary values and costs for all their different items as well. So anyway, for those that are interested in that, feel free to like and subscribe so that you can be notified much more likely to get that. If you really want to get that video, feel free to click the bell icon as well. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will see you later on this week.